Hello everybody and welcome to today's lecture in which we are going to be studying topic number 38 of this self-knowledge course entitled The Difficult Path and the Christic Work. Remember that if you have any question, any comment, you can leave it down there in the comment section down below and we'll be answering any question you may have, clearing out any doubt you may have regarding this topic or regarding the this self-knowledge course in general. Also, in the description of this video, you're going to be finding the access link to the WhatsApp group, to the Telegram group, and to the YouTube channel. Through those groups, we always send the material we use for these conferences, like the charts, the PDF files, and the audios of the conferences. And also you can communicate directly with the instructors or administrators of the WhatsApp group and ask any question you may have. Well, today, as I said, we are going to be studying topic number 38 entitled The Difficult Path and the Christic Work. In this conference, we will learn all the difficulties and obstacles that we have to go through and transcend to achieve our goal of self-realization. We will also learn how to avoid various forms of self-deception. And if we do not take these obstacles into account, we could stay stuck in this inner work. Well, unquestionably, there is a dark side of ourselves that we do not know or that we don't accept, and we must bring the light of consciousness to that dark side of ourselves. Okay, as you can see here, when one has many things within oneself that one doesn't know or accept, then such things complicate one's life horribly and actually cause all kinds of situations that could have been avoided through self-knowledge. There is within us the visible moon and the invisible moon. The visible moon is that part of our psychology that we can observe and even recognize. There are defects that we accept and that are even part of our personality. However, the invisible moon is that perverse and dark part of our psychology that we have never observed and that we fear to observe. There we find the heaviest part of our psychology and the most perverse selves or psychological defects that we could imagine. Anyone can accept that they have an angry defect, a defect of jealousy, even a lazy defect. But it would really be difficult for us to accept that we have a thief defect, a rapist defect, a perverted defect, an envious defect, a murderer defect, etc., etc. This is a terrible obstacle since we fall into the self-deception of believing ourselves to be good people and believing ourselves to be good and neat prevents the possibility of us being able to see ourselves as we really are, and therefore avoids working on ourselves to eliminate those defects. If something is good, why to change it? There we have the first obstacle, believing ourselves good. The worst thing about all this is that we project that unknown and unconscious side of ourselves onto other people, and then we see it in them. For example, we see them as if they were liars, unfaithful, mean, etc., in relation to what we carry inside us. There is the so-called law of the mirror, which makes us constantly project ourselves onto others, and we can see in them what we cannot perceive in ourselves. It is a tactic that ourselves, our defects, use to make us look outward and not towards ourselves. Then we fall into criticism and judgment, and our conscience falls asleep more and more. Many times we believe we are good because we criticize and judge the actions of others, and we don't take into account when and under what circumstances we have acted in the same way, or that we may also be in the passive polarity of the defect. It is very common to see an abstemious person criticizing and judging a drunkard. He thinks about himself that he is very virtuous because he doesn't drink alcohol, when the reality is that the criticism and the rejection he shows towards alcoholics are a reflection of his own self, of his own psychological defect. That the passive form of the same defect is manifesting itself through him. Let's remember that defects have two polarities, the active and the passive. Okay, in this case, we have the drunkard, which is the active polarity, and the abstemious, which is the passive polarity, but is the same defects, just two faces, but the same psychological defect. When there is virtue and wisdom, there is understanding, comprehension. Okay, therefore there is no dislike, judgment, or criticism towards others. As long as we are not well related to ourselves, through the work to awaken our consciousness by eliminating all our ego, which begins with the process of self-observation, we will not be well related to others, and the result will be conflicts of all species. It is essential to become much more aware of ourselves through direct self-observation. When we don't understand or get along with another person, we can be sure that this is the very thing against which we must work on ourselves. What is criticized so much in others is something that rests on the dark side of oneself, and that it is not known, nor does we want to recognize. Okay, the dark side of ourselves is very big, but when the light of self-observation illuminates that dark side, consciousness increases through self-knowledge. Well, this is the path of the razor's edge. Okay, more bitter than gold, many started. Very rare are the ones who reach the goal. Sometimes the internal path, after many twists and turns, horrifying climbs and very dangerous descents, is like being lost in deserts of sand. One does not know where it continues, and not even a ray of light illuminates it. In those moments, we tend to fall into terrible crises that can lead us to demotivation, impatience, despair, and the desire to abandon our work. However, these crises are perfect gyms to gain wisdom, strength, and resistance. Sometimes problems appear that are difficult to solve. Suddenly in the path we get lost in inexplicable labyrinths, and it is not known where it continues. Only absolute obedience to the interior Christ and the Father who is in secret can guide us wisely in such cases. This path is full of dangers, inside and out, a path of unspeakable mysteries. Inside we have our defects that will fight to continue enslaving us. They will put pressure on us so that we continue feeding them and not eliminate them with the psychological death. But we must also take into account that the Black Lodge exists and that there are creatures, entities, and black magicians that will oppose our internal advance at all costs and will do everything necessary to stagnate us in the work and even make us abandon it. However, we must know that these external forces work through our own defects. They can only attack us and make us fall because of our weaknesses. Therefore, if we work on ourselves by eliminating our internal black lodge, our egos, the external black lodge will not have any power over us. We have to reflect on those external agents that divert our attention from the goal of self-realization, many of them related to our personality, such as the search for money, fame, loss, etc. Okay? On this inner path, when we believe that we are going very well, in reality we are going very badly. And when we believe that we are going very badly, it happens that we are going very well. We don't practice psychological death, and we believe we are wise and conscious without killing the first defect. If we are practicing the three factors, we will be able to go deeper and deeper into our psychology, and this will allow us to see more and more details of our perverse psychology. Therefore, we will become more and more aware of the deplorable state in which we find ourselves. On this secret path, there are moments when one no longer knows what is good or what is bad. What is normally prohibited sometimes turns out to be just. All the moral codes on the interior path are superfluous. A beautiful maxim or a beautiful moral precept at certain moments can become a very serious obstacle in the intimate self-realization of the being. Consciousness only cares about fulfilling the goal of self-realization, which is achieved by practicing the three factors for the revolution of consciousness: spiritual birth, to create the existential bodies of the being; psychological death, to eliminate all the ego and free the 97% of essence trapped; and sacrifice for humanity, to develop a selfless love. It is good to know that consciousness goes beyond good and evil. Therefore, these codes of ethics, morals, customs, or culture are superfluous. Codes subjected to time, subjected to a geographical location. However, consciousness is timeless. The conscious will always be the conscious, while what was moral a while ago is no longer moral today. Our personality is also subjected to these moral codes, and this can interfere with our practice of the three factors. We have concepts of all kinds: age, profession, what they might say, the couple, prototypes, beliefs, our culture and customs. Let's see how these concepts interfere, for example, with the birth factor. If we don't have a partner to practice the spiritual birth, and our being shows us a partner who could help us in the work of creating our internal bodies, these concepts come out to say no, because that person does not meet our prototypes, that he or she is ugly, that he or she is short, that she or he is poor, that he is not a professionist or from a good family, who is not of my nationality, etc., etc. Okay. Another obstacle is karma. All of us owe a large amount of karma, and a person who is going to self-realize must pay the karma of 7 existences in one existence. We are going to have to be constantly negotiating with the lords of the law, those karmas that can be negotiated. When we practice psychological death, if we don't have enough dharma to pay what our defects owe, those debts will be collected with pain. Hence, the importance of generating dharma with the factor of sacrifice for humanity. Another obstacle will be the large number of similar paths. There are many pseudo-esoteric or pseudo-occultist schools, so much cheap mysticism that abounds everywhere. Many of them even talk about the three factors, although not from a revolutionary a practice-oriented approach. This could make us at any time want to go to those other schools that present us with an easier path or a direct ticket to heaven. On the difficult path of the dissolution of the ego, there are complex paths that have their roots precisely in the real path. Multiple paths emerge from the path of the razor's edge, but they lead nowhere. Some of them lead us to the abyss and despair. There are paths that could turn us into majesties of such or such areas of the universe, but that in no way would bring us back to the bosom of the eternal common cosmic Father. There are fascinating paths of the most holy appearance, ineffable. Unfortunately, only they can lead us to the submerged involution of the infernal worlds. But we'll also find the trials along the way. Let us remember that this is a probatory path and that through these trials we will be measured. There are the trials of the elements and the trials of the details. The trials of the elements are four: earth, water, fire, and air. Those earth trials are trials of poverty. There we will be put in precarious economic situations to measure our ability to endure. Those of water measure our intelligence and ability to adapt to the circumstances. Those of fire measure the control over our emotions, and those of air measure our attachment to things. The trials of details are the ones that most easily makes us fall, because we don't even realize that they are trials. Circumstances that were previously normal for us now become trials. We go down the street and see a 5-cent coin. You lose the trial if you get down and pick it up, since it is a detail of the thief self that is manifesting there. If our partner demands something from us and we let the anger manifest with an offensive gesture or word, we lose another trial, little trial, and so on. Okay. Fortunately, the intimate cries from the very depths of our being works intensively and disintegrates the very dangerous elements that we carry within us. But the Christ is born as a child in the hearts of man. But as he eliminates the undesirable elements that we carry inside, he grows little by little until he becomes a complete man. But let us remember that we must travel the entire path of the first mountain so that this Christ is born within us. This path begins with lighting or igniting the fire, which occurs after having balanced our centers and working with the three factors for the revolution of consciousness. When the fire is lit, the regeneration of the physical body begins. Then comes the regeneration of the vital body. Then comes the creation of the astral, mental, and causal bodies. There, when the causal body is created, the choice of the direct path or nirvana is presented. If the person chooses nirvana, they will go to a kind of paradise and will be granted what they want according to the dharma that has generated up to this point. However, they become traitors of Christ, since it is the choice of the direct path which takes us to Christification. Those who choose the direct path have the right to unite with their divine soul in what is known as the perfect matrimony. And it is from that union of the human with the divine that Christ is conceived and born. Intimate Christ arises internally in the work related to the dissolution of the psychological self. Obviously, the inner Christ only comes to us at the peak of our intentional efforts and voluntary sufferings. The advent of the Christic fire is the most important event in our own life. Intimate Christ then takes charge of all mental, emotional, motor, instinctive, and sexual processes. Unquestionably, the intimate Christ is our profound interior Savior. This Christ comes to carry out various works within us, such as the elimination of the cause eyes, the cause defects, the heads of legion, the creation also of the golden bodies, the bodies of gold, and also to take charge of the world, teaching and this knowledge, and also he's going to be paying the harsh karma. Okay, he, being perfect when he gets into us, would appear to be imperfect. Being chaste, he would seem as if he was not chaste. Being fair, he will seem as if he was not. Hence, he also has to endure rejection, judgments, and criticism from people. This is similar to the different reflections of light. If we wear blue glasses, everything will appear blue to us. And if we wear red glasses, we will see all things of this color. He, even if he is white, seen from the outside, each one will see him through their own psychological glass. This is why people seeing him do not see him. By taking charge of all our psychological process, the Lord or perfection suffers the unspeakable. Becoming a man among men, he must go through many trials and endure unspeakable temptations. Remember that temptation is fire, and the triumph over temptation is light. In the work of the dissolution of the self, we need to surrender ourselves completely to the inner Christ. Changes are essential during esoteric advancement. More reactionary people remaining bottled up in the past, petrified in time, will come against us as we make fundamental psychological advances and radical changes. People do not resist the changes of the initiate. They want him to continue petrified in multiple yesterdays. Any change that the initiate makes is immediately classified as immoral. Looking at things from this angle, in the light of the Christic work, we can clearly show the ineffectiveness of the various moral codes that have been written in the world. Unquestionably, the Christ manifested and yet hidden in the hearts of real man, taking charge of our various psychological states, being unknown to people, is in fact described as cruel, immoral, and perverse. It is paradoxical that people worship Christ and yet attach such horrifying adjectives to him. Obviously, unconscious and sleeping people only want a historical Christ with statues and unbreakable dogmas to which they can easily accommodate all their clumsy and stale moral codes and all their prejudices and conditions. People can never conceive the intimate Christ in the hearts of man. The multitudes only adore the statue, excuse me, of Christ, and that is all. When one speaks to the people, when one declares to them the crude realism of the revolutionary Christ, the red Christ, the rebel Christ, one immediately receives levels such as the following: blasphemer, excuse me, heretic, evil, sacrilegious, etc., etc. Okay, such are the multiples, always unconscious. People, okay, that listen to these teachings. Now, we will understand why the Christ crucified on Golgotha exclaims with all strength of his soul, "My Father, forgive them because they do not know what they do." To finish, let's remember that embodying this Christic force is the fundamental thing in the advanced work of the pluralized self. The Lord of perfection works within us as we consciously strive to work on ourselves. Also, it's good to know that, the work the intimate Christ has to do within us is frighteningly painful for our own psyche. Truly, our inner master must live his entire way of the cross in the very depths of our own soul, as Master Jesus taught us through the cosmic drama. Also remember that supplicating the Divine Mother Kundalini is essential when it comes to dissolving undesirable psychic aggregates. However, the intimate Christ in the deepest background of himself operates wisely in accordance with the responsibilities that he casts on his shoulders. And well, this has been today's conference. Thank you very much for having joined us. And we hope that you are encouraged to reflect on each one of those aspects so that in this way they don't take you by surprise and stagnate you or divert you from your inner work. We invite you, as you can see here, to the next conference where we learn how not to become identified with the things or problems of our daily lives and why we judge others. We will be learning how the law of the mirror works and how we can transcend it. So thank you very much and until next time.